Let's begin our final masterclass together today by looking at two profoundly different pictures of aging. In the first scene, we see laughter, engagement, the easy back and forth of shared stories. We see connection. In the second, we see stillness, isolation, and a quiet, unspoken sense of longing. The person in the first scene is experiencing a key, indispensable ingredient for a long, healthy, and happy life that the person in the second scene is missing. And it's not a special diet, a new exercise, or a magic pill from my medical bag. It's other people. In our series on the pillars of longevity, we've explored the incredible internal machinery of the human body, our muscles, our brains, our intricate nervous systems. We've looked inward. But today, to complete our blueprint for a vibrant health span, we are going to make a radical and essential shift in perspective. We are going to look for one of the most powerful factors determining your health span not under a microscope or on a lab report, but in the invisible, energetic space between you and other people. This is not a philosophical statement. It is a biological one. For millions of years, Homo sapiens survived and eventually thrived on this planet not because we were the strongest, the fastest, or the most ferocious, but because we were the most cooperative. Our superpower has always been our ability to form tribes, to share resources, to communicate complex ideas, to protect one another from predators and the elements. Connection is etched into our DNA. It is our oldest, most powerful, and most fundamental survival strategy. Today, we are building our fourth and final pillar of longevity, deep connection. And from my clinical perspective, I need to be absolutely, unequivocally clear on this point. Social connection is not a nice-to-have feature of a good life. It is not a simple hobby or a soft skill. It is a fundamental biological necessity, as critical to your long-term well-being as oxygen, water, and the nutrients you get from your food. And its absence, loneliness, is now being recognized by major global health organizations, from the World Health Organization to the U.S. Surgeon General, for what it truly is, a silent global epidemic. It is one of the most significant, misunderstood, and tragically overlooked public health threats of our time, with particularly profound and devastating effects on older adults. To understand this on a deeply personal level, let's complete the story of our friend Susan, who has been our companion throughout this entire journey. Her diet is impeccable, her sleep is steadily improving. She has a toolkit of strategies to manage her stress. She is, by all accounts, physically healthy and resilient. But she still feels that quiet ache of loneliness since her book club, her intellectual and social anchor, ended. She described it to me in a way that I will never forget. She said, "Doctor, I feel physically strong, stronger than I have in years. But there's a certain joy, a certain spark that's missing from my days. Sometimes, especially in the late afternoon when the house is too quiet, I can physically feel the quietness. It's a heavy feeling, like a weighted blanket I can't take off." What Susan is describing is not just a feeling in her mind. It's a physiological state that is creating real, measurable changes in her body. It is the final, most human piece of her longevity puzzle. It's the mortar that holds the other pillars, diet, movement, and stress resilience together, and gives them all a deeper meaning. In this final masterclass of our series, we will explore the hard, undeniable science of why your friends are as important as your fiber intake. We will look at the shocking data that redefines loneliness not as a social inconvenience, but as a major medical risk factor on par with well-known killers. We'll explore the beautiful biology of bonding and the so-called love hormone, oxytocin, which acts as a powerful natural medicine in your body. And most importantly, we will build a practical, non-intimidating community building toolkit filled with actionable strategies to help you nurture, repair, and grow your social world, no matter your age or circumstance. Let's build our final, most human pillar. Let's talk about the medicine of connection. To take loneliness as seriously as we take high cholesterol, we must first understand what it is and what it isn't. It's a word we use casually, but in a clinical sense, it has a very specific and important meaning. Loneliness is not the same as being alone. Solitude, the act of choosing to spend time by yourself, reading a book, gardening, walking in nature, simply being with your own thoughts, can be a beautiful, peaceful, and restorative choice. Many of us need and crave solitude to recharge and reconnect with ourselves. It is a sign of a healthy relationship with yourself. Loneliness, on the other hand, is the distressing, involuntary, and painful feeling of being socially disconnected. It is the subjective, painful gap between the social connection you want and the social connection you have. This is the crucial distinction. This is why you can be in a house full of family during a holiday, or in a crowded community center, surrounded by the buzz of activity, and still feel profoundly, achingly lonely. It is not about the number of people around you. It is about the quality and depth of the connection you feel. It is a subjective, internal state with profound, objective, physiological consequences. The hard data. Why loneliness is a lethal threat. For decades, medicine treated feelings of loneliness as a purely psychological issue, separate from physical health. That era is definitively over. The data is now too powerful to ignore. Let's start with the headline finding from a landmark. Meta-analysis. That's a study that combines the data from dozens of individual studies, in this case involving over 300,000 people, published by Dr. Julianne Holt-Lunstad. The finding literally forced the medical and public health communities to sit up and take notice. The study found that chronic social isolation and loneliness have a similar impact on your long-term mortality risk as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Let me repeat that, because it is so fundamentally important to our discussion today. The persistent feeling of being disconnected can be as dangerous to your long-term health as a heavy smoking habit. The data shows it is more lethal than obesity and far more dangerous to your long-term survival than a sedentary lifestyle. This is not my opinion as a doctor. This is the data. From a public health perspective, loneliness is a lethal threat. So why? Why is a feeling so physically dangerous? The answer lies deep in our evolutionary programming. For our ancient ancestors roaming the savannah, being part of a tribe was the only way to survive. The tribe provided protection from predators, help with finding food, and care during times of illness. Being cast out, being isolated, was a near-certain death sentence. Your ancient brain, the very same operating system you have running in your head today, knows this. So when it perceives a state of chronic loneliness, it doesn't interpret it as a sad feeling. It interprets it as a state of mortal danger. And how does your body respond to a state of mortal danger? It activates its chronic stress response. It begins that low-grade, constant drip, drip, drip of our old friend from the last masterclass, the stress hormone cortisol, and this, in turn, drives up systemic inflammation throughout your entire body. It's as if your body, feeling unsafe and unprotected, goes into a constant state of low-grade civil war, ready to fight off wounds and infections at a moment's notice. This chronic inflammation is a primary root cause of so many age-related diseases. It damages and hardens the delicate lining of your arteries, contributing to the significantly higher risk of high blood pressure, heart attack, and stroke seen in lonely individuals. It irritates your joints, worsening the pain of arthritis. And it even directly affects your brain. As we've learned, social engagement is a complex, full brain workout. It requires active listening, processing complex language, reading subtle social cues on another's face, accessing memory to recall shared experiences, and engaging the parts of our brain responsible for empathy. When you are socially isolated, your brain is not getting this essential daily exercise. Landmark studies, like the Rush Memory and Aging Project in Chicago, have shown that lonely seniors have a rate of cognitive decline that is significantly faster than their socially connected peers. Loneliness is a direct threat to the health and plasticity of your mind. The science of connection. Oxytocin. The antidote. But here is the beautiful, hopeful, and elegant part of the story. Just as our bodies have a built-in threat response, they also have a powerful built-in antidote to this state of danger. What happens in our brains and bodies when we feel a genuine, safe connection with another being? We release a magnificent neurochemical called oxytocin. It's often called the love hormone or the bonding hormone. It's the hormone that floods a mother's brain after childbirth, creating that unbreakable bond. It's the hormone that surges when you hug a loved one, or even when you just hold their hand. But it's also released in more subtle ways. When you make warm eye contact and share a genuine laugh with a friend. When you sing in a choir, when you share a meal. Scientists, particularly the psychologist Shelley Taylor, now refer to the physiological state it triggers as the tend and befriend response. The biological and behavioral opposite of fight or flight. Oxytocin is the direct physiological antidote to cortisol. It actively lowers cortisol levels. It reduces blood pressure and slows the heart rate. It dampens the activity of the amygdala, your brain's fear center, promoting feelings of calm, trust, and psychological safety. Every time you have a deep, meaningful conversation with a friend, every time you hold your grandchild's hand, every time you even pet your dog or cat, yes, that counts too. You are giving yourself a powerful, healing, intravenous dose of this incredible, all-natural anti-stress, pro-longevity medicine. So, the science is clear. Loneliness is a state of threat. Connection is a state of healing. The crucial question then becomes, how do we get more of these vital oxytocin-producing connections in our lives, especially later in life, after retirements, relocations, or the loss of friends? The idea of making new friends can feel daunting, even terrifying, but I want you to reframe it. It's not a personality contest. It's a skill, and like any skill, it can be learned and practiced. It starts with small, consistent, low-pressure steps. This is your practical guide, your clinical prescription for building a more connected life. Strategy number 1. Nurture what you have. The foundation. The first and most important step is not to go out and meet 100 new people. It's to gently and intentionally deepen the valuable relationships you already have. From a clinical perspective, we start here because it has the lowest barrier to entry and the highest chance of a positive emotional return. Your mission this week, your prescription, is this. Make a short list of 3 to 5 people in your life, a sibling, a cousin, an old college roommate, a former colleague, who you've been meaning to connect with, but life has gotten in the way. Then, pick up the phone and call one of them. Not a text, not an email, but a phone call. The sound of a human voice, with its unique cadence and tone and warmth, is an incredibly powerful connector that text can never replicate. Let's imagine Susan. On her list is her old college roommate, Sarah, who she hasn't spoken to in over a year. The thought of calling feels awkward. What will I even say? It's been so long. Maybe she's too busy. She wonders. This is the fear that keeps us disconnected. Here is the simple, honest script I gave her. Hi, Sarah. It's Susan. You. No, you just popped into my head today, and I realized it's been far too long. I'm not calling for any particular reason other than just to hear your voice and see how you're doing. Is that simple? It's honest, it's warm, and it takes all the pressure off. The simple act of saying, "You crossed my mind," is one of the most powerful gifts of connection you can give. Strategy number 2. Connect through shared interests. The side-by-side method. The easiest and most natural way to make new friends as an adult is to stop trying to make friends at all. The pressure of face-to-face, interview-style conversation can be intense. Instead, The goal is to start doing things you genuinely love or are curious about side by side with other people who also love those things. The activity becomes the social lubricant. It gives you something to talk about. The connection happens naturally as a byproduct of a shared passion. Join a club. This is the path Susan is taking with the gardening club. On her first day, she doesn't have to talk about herself. She can ask, "What kind of fertilizer do you use for your tomatoes?" The conversation flows from there. Look for a local walking club, a bird-watching society, a choir, a volunteer group, or a historical society. Take a class. Lifelong learning is one of the most powerful tools for brain health and social connection. Sign up for that pottery class you've always dreamed of, that creative writing workshop, or that history lecture series at your local community college or library. You are immediately in a room with people who share your curiosity. Volunteer. This might be the most powerful of all. Offering your time and skills at a local library, hospital, school, or animal shelter does two magical things at once. It connects you with others who share your values, and it provides a profound sense of purpose, which itself is a major driver of longevity. Strategy number 3. Embrace technology as a bridge, not a barrier now. I know for some, the word technology can be a source of stress, but I want you to reframe how you see these tools. Think of an application like FaceTime, Skype, or Zoom not as complicated software, but simply as a magic window. A window that allows you to see your grandchild's new drawing in real time from 1,000 miles away. A window that allows you to see the laughter in an old friend's eyes instead of just imagining it. The science is clear. Seeing a loved one's face and reading their nonverbal cues provides a much more powerful dose of oxytocin than just hearing their voice, which is in turn more powerful than a text message. Your assignment is to be brave enough to ask for help. Ask a grandchild, a neighbor, or a librarian for a patient 20-minute tutorial. The reward seeing those faces you love is immeasurable. Strategy number 4. The power of weak ties. Finally, let's talk about a fascinating and important concept from sociology called the strength of weak ties. Our overall sense of belonging and community doesn't just come from our 3 to 4 closest friends and family members. It comes from the dozens of casual, low-stakes, friendly interactions we have throughout our day. Let's look at Richard. As part of his new routine, he walks to the local coffee shop every morning. He learns the barista's name is Maria and asks her how her studies are going. He has a brief, friendly chat with the man who is always there reading the paper. He waves to a neighbor walking her dog. None of these people are his best friends. He's not going to call them a crisis, but this network of casual, friendly acquaintances creates a rich social fabric. It makes him feel seen. It makes him feel like a part of his community. It turns a neighborhood into a home. Your mission is simple. Have one small, friendly, positive interaction with a person in your community each day. A simple, "Good morning," or a comment about the weather is all it takes to start weaving your own tapestry of belonging. And so, our deep dive into the 4 pillars of longevity, into the architecture of a long and vibrant life, comes to a close. We have explored the intricate machinery of our bodies, our muscles, our sleep cycles, our stress response, and now, we must conclude with the very architecture of our hearts and minds. Let's recap the profound and perhaps surprising medical truth we have established today. We have learned, with hard, undeniable data, that loneliness is not a fleeting emotion, but a chronic physiological state of threat. It is a condition that triggers our ancient stress response, floods our bodies with inflammatory hormones, and measurably increases our risk for nearly every major chronic disease of aging, from heart disease to dementia. And we have learned that its beautiful, powerful antidote, connection, is also a physical, biological event. It is the release of the neurochemical oxytocin, a healing hormone that calms our nervous system, lowers our blood pressure, and creates a physiological state of safety, trust, and repair. The science is now clear and indisputable. Connection is medicine, so what does taking this medicine look like in the real world? Let's check in one final time with our friend Susan. After our talk, she sat with her fear for a few days. The thought of walking into a room full of strangers was genuinely terrifying. But a stronger voice, the voice of her own deep human need for connection, spoke up. She went online and found a local community gardening club that meets on Saturday mornings at the local library. Picture her this morning, driving to the meeting. Her hands are a little shaky on the steering wheel. She almost turned the car around twice, but she took a deep breath, perhaps did a round of her box breathing, and walked in. She stood awkwardly for a moment, feeling like the new kid in school. And then she saw it. A woman her age was proudly holding up a beautiful, lumpy, wonderfully imperfect heirloom tomato. Susan, a passionate tomato grower herself, felt a spark of recognition. She walked over. "That's a beautiful Brandywine," she said with a small smile. "How do you keep the blossom and rot off yours?" And just like that, with a simple question about a shared passion, the barrier was broken. They talked for an hour about soil health and pests and the simple joy of growing your own food. Susan came home feeling lighter and more energized than she had in months. The heavy, weighted blanket of loneliness had lifted, replaced by the warmth of a shared passion and a potential new friend. She took a small, terrifying step and was met with a profound oxytocin-fueled reward. She is actively and courageously building her fourth pillar. Susan's story perfectly illustrates the final, beautiful, unifying truth of this entire series. Nurturing your social connections is not a frivolous pastime. It is a critical health behavior, as important as every other pillar we have discussed. In fact, it's the pillar that gives all the others meaning. Why do we want the strength to lift a suitcase? So we can travel to see the people we love. Why? Do we want restorative sleep for a clear mind? So we can be present and engaged in our conversations. Why do we want to manage our stress? So we can be a calm, loving, and supportive presence for our friends and family. And why do we work so hard on our nutrition? To have the health and vitality to enjoy many more decades of shared meals, shared laughter, and shared memories. Connection is the reason. It is the ultimate why behind our entire journey. It is the most human of all medicines. And so, we've come to the end of our formal masterclasses. The blueprint is complete. The foundation is laid. And the 4 pillars are designed. The rest of the beautiful, challenging, and rewarding work of building your house of health is now yours to do. So I want to leave you with one final gentle challenge. What is one small step you can take this week to strengthen your pillar of connection? Will you call that old friend you've been thinking about? Or will you look up a local club or volunteer opportunity that matches one of your passions? Share your single, powerful intention in the comments below. Let's make this comment section a testament to our collective commitment to a more connected life. If this entire series on the 4 pillars of longevity has given you a new blueprint for your health and a new sense of hope for your future, please give this video a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to Senior Health Lab. It has been a profound honor to be your guide on this journey. Until we meet again, stay curious, stay connected, and stay healthy.